Welcome back, dear listeners, to Fright or Flight, the podcast where we rank, recap, and review every horror movie in a given franchise.
I'm Jumpscare Jer, or Gerald. I'm the Fright of the podcast.
And I'm Frankie. I'm the Flight of the podcast.
Today, we're talking about my mental health's favorite thing to do, Spiral.
That's right. Spiral breathes fresh life into the Saw franchise, offering a thrilling blend of classic horror elements and a contemporary twist. So join us as we dissect the traps, dissect the plot, and spiral into the darkness and creeping world of Spiral from the Book of Saw. Geraldine, what are your general feelings about Spiral?
It's pretty good.
You enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it. It was a good, enjoyable movie.
This is quite a controversial one, Geraldine. A lot of people really don't like this movie.
I didn't mind it. However, I don't think it should be considered Saw 9, which is already kind of like a thing. For me, I'm like, well, this doesn't include anything with Jigsaw. They have someone who is following Jigsaw's like past things, but I don't know. It's not a bad movie by any stretch, but it is a movie that it's really just a one-off.
Yeah, a lot of people, that's why they don't like it, is because it has nothing to do with Saw. It's not like a lot of the other Saw movies. I think there are obviously, big connections, such as all the traps. I mean, that's what makes Saw a Saw movie. So I think a lot of the thinking there is that, it's chock full of traps. They were actually making this movie after Jigsaw was made. They were working on Saw 10, Saw X, or whatever the next Saw movie is. But Chris Rock ran into the head of Lionsgate. I think it was at a wedding, actually. And after expressing how much of a fan Chris Rock is, Lionsgate called him up a few weeks later and offered to start working on a new movie. So it was like a drop everything now. They were working on a different movie entirely. Wow. It might have been what eventually became Saw X. But after Chris Rock expressed interest, they decided to make this whole new thing. And Chris Rock, like I said, he's a big fan of the Saw franchise,
which is really cool. I wouldn't expect that from him. I don't know why.
I think it's super cool. And that makes sense to me. He has been in some other film, of course. I mean, he's a comedian, popular actor. He definitely has some notoriety coming in, so that's why they were so excited about him having that interest.
Oh yeah.
And he also wanted to bring in elements of the original was often compared to Seven. So they were trying to come back to that, kind of have more of a Seven, 48 Hours, Lethal Weapon, just a little more of that detective thriller kind of energy.
Yeah, which it definitely gave me that.
Here's a clip about what Chris Rock wanted to do with the movie.
It's like 48 Hours. Like Eddie Murphy, 48 Hours is a real tough, grimy movie. And somehow Eddie Murphy's funny in it. And I tried to kind of do that here. I thought you could do it. And I think we pulled it off, It's not... There's humor in it, but it's not a comedy. You know what I mean? It's not scary movie. But I think we pulled it off.
I think they did.
I think so too. What did you think about Chris Rock's presence in the movie, in a Saw film?
I feel like I haven't seen him in a lot of serious roles, so I was kind of excited to see what he would do with it. His character was really pessimistic, but also there was a lot of he was being targeted at work because he was calling out something that was very relevant, especially in this time. It's still relevant today,
police brutality,
bad cops.
And I think that is kind of a trope in Saw. We've tackled medical issues, insurance issues. So we keep calling back to social issues in a lot of these films. So I do think that's something that has its heart in a Saw film,
which is really cool to me because it's kind of brave to speak out against those things, especially in a horror movie that is layered.
Yes.
And especially this one being multi-layered. Yeah. Not only is this is also a black cop too.
Yes.
And he's also a comedian. Chris Rock is unfortunately a couple years later wasn't very liked by social media because there was a big division amongst people because of what happened with the Oscars. But I don't really give a shit. I'm who knows?
Mentioning the cultural things that were happening at the time with all the protests and stuff, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
This movie was actually filmed before that happened.
Which is really wild.
It happened in 2019. It was supposed to come out in 2020. It was actually supposed to come out a month before the whole George Floyd thing exploded. Oh. But because of COVID, it was pushed back an entire year.
Which is crazy.
So in a couple of ways, it's ahead of its time. But in another way, it goes to show that these issues aren't newly relevant.
They're not newly relevant.
Police brutality is something that's been going on for so long. And and it's just another thing that this movie tries to tackle in a way, and I think it's quite appealing in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I also think that Chris Rock does a really good job with his serious acting. I think also his character has a lot of like dark humor.
Yeah.
Which I enjoy because it's like he said, it's not a comedy, but there is comedy in it.
I laughed during the movie.
Yeah, I definitely
There's a few things that cracked me up. The director from Saw 2, 3, and 4, Darren Lynn Bousman, returns to do this movie.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know it.
It's super cool because, of course, we have Lee Winnell and James Wan who did the first movie. Lee wrote the next two, but I think Darren Lynn Bousman it's definitely one of the most notable people who have been involved in Saw, because while he wasn't there for the first one, I feel like he really defined the aesthetic and the vibe going forward for the rest of the Saw films.
Yeah.
Because he got a chance to build that up from the second to the fourth one. There's a few other people, of course, who are notable in the franchise just because this makes Darren Lynn Bousman the director of 4 Saw films. That's the most. Wow. And Kevin Gerder, he did Saw 6 and Saw 7. So he's also directed a couple. And it's just interesting to see like a pantheon of different people do these movies and do multiple of them and see what direction they go in and having the back and forth of like, this is what I do, this is what they do. I think it's really cool.
And if I'm not mistaken, Kevin is also the director of the newest one.
Exactly, Saw X. Yeah, so here we go really again. Cool. So it's fun now. We got to see a more modern version of Darren Lynn Bousman, and now we're going to get to see a more modern version of Kevin Gruder, which is really cool to see like the back and forth.
That is really cool.
Yeah. Here's a clip about Darren coming back as the director.
Chris Rock and Samuel Jackson. That's what pulled me back in. I guess I've learned an important life lesson, which is never say never. Leaving Saw 4, I was like, that's it. Because to me, I thought I had done it all. I was like, I've done 3 Saw movies. I've killed a lot of people. What else is there to do? And then a few years back when they called me and then they pitched me this idea and they said, with Chris Rock. And I'm like, a Chris Rock Saw movie? Are you fucking kidding? I'm sorry for the language. You can beep that out. I as a Saw fan, want to see that movie. The movie geek in me, I had to say yes, because first off, I am a huge fan of his comedy. And then to be able to see him in this universe that I helped kind of steer and create, how could I say no to that?
Yeah. How could you?
Yeah. So it's super fun. I'm so happy that he came back because he has so much to do with the franchise. So the last one, Jigsaw, they had a couple of completely new directors who haven't ever been involved in Saw at all. I mean, even when David Hackle did the 5th movie that a lot of people aren't a fan of, he has been the production designer for several of the films, so he's a part of that pantheon of people too in the Saw world. So I'm glad that they drew back from that 10 and decided to get somebody who knows Saw. Chris Rock in this movie isn't the only, big, huge, notable actor.
Yeah.
We also have Sam Jackson in the movie.
SLJ.
That's right. Chris Rock actually took a pay cut to get some of the actors like Samuel L. Jackson to be in the film because obviously, they don't have the huge budget. So to be able to afford for his time, he took a pay cut because he really wanted him in the movie.
Which is really cool. And he plays his dad. Who other than Samuel L. Jackson to play your motherfucking dad,
Yeah. What do you think? Did you like him in this movie?
I love Samuel L. Jackson. I love Samuel L. Jackson in anything. That man is so high up on my love list. Insane.
He's fantastic. He's I think one of the best actors we have.
Oh my God, yes. He's funny. He can be serious. He can be scary. He can be menacing. So many things. This man has so much range. And he's also just notable because of his use of the word motherfucker.
Yeah, classic. And he spits it off here in a couple of times.
Oh, yeah, he does. And it's good.
Here is Chris Rock on Samuel L. Jackson in the movie.
You know what? It's weird. It's almost... I almost wish I could get the first day we shot, get that one and shoot it over because I was in such awe of Sam, And it's not like I never met him before, but I hadn't worked with him. And it's like, wait a minute, the guy from Pulp Fiction's yelling at me. Dude. Where's his Jerry curl? He's so good. I don't know. There's something about when you see Sam Jackson in a movie, it's going to be good. It's, he's so believable in any part he plays. I mean, I had a great time with him.
Yeah. I would have a great time. I always wonder how that is on movie sets and stuff because when you watch a comedy movie, for example, Will Ferrell is one of my favorite comedy actors. I can't take that man seriously. And I'm like, man, it must be really hard to get through a scene with that guy. I could not imagine how it would be. I could not I would be too nervous to do anything in front of some of these actors.
To act in front of them, I mean, it takes a lot.
Samuel L. Jackson, like he's literally saying, the guy from Pulp Fiction, that whole scene, Royale with cheese, like, so classic.
Marisol Nichols, who plays Captain Angie Garza, she also stated something similar in an interview, saying that like she gets like this long scene with Samuel L. Jackson, and it's like, oh wow, I get to perform next to this guy. That's kind of intimidating, you know?
Yeah, it really is. Oh man.
She herself is notable for her Riverdale fame. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that show.
Yes, I have seen too many episodes. Okay, in full transparency, season 1 and season 2, fantastic, unbeatable. You can't beat it. But season 3 and on, it's absolutely stupid. But I've invested so much time, so when I absolutely run out of anything else to watch, I will go back to the show.
Right.
And I'm like hating every minute when I'm watching. I'm like, what have they done to this show?
So it's another one of those Grey's Anatomies.
Yes,
for
it
you?
is.
Yeah.
It is. It's
That's
not,
the Jughead show, right? Mm-hmm. Right.
and I love the actors and stuff, but they just draw. It's a show based on a comic, so
Yeah.
anything's possible in that realm. But it's also just kind of dumb to me, I guess.
Yeah, I the only thing I know about is seeing some TikToks about, I think it's Dylan Sprouse's character,
Oh, Cole Sprouse.
Cole Sprouse, and how he's always like, I'm so weird. You wouldn't understand how weird I am.
Yeah, I'm so I'm different. Like, oh, shut up. I just can't stand it.
Yeah.
But I also secretly love that character though, because he's like this, I don't know, because he is different.
Oh yeah.
I'm not like other guys.
So if you had a crush from the show, would it be Jughead? Are you a Jughead girl?
No, I'm actually Jughead's dad's girl. It was actually, you will be really excited to know,
Oh,
it's
okay.
Skeet Ulrich he plays Billy
What?
Loomis from Scream.
Is his dad?
It's his dad in the show.
That's so fun.
And he is beautiful.
I like that gentleman a lot. I don't know why. He's just handsome.
Yes,
That's one of the things.
He's just so handsome.
He's perfect casting for Scream, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's he was this really bad kind of guy, bad dad in the beginning seasons. And then he works his way into being the sheriff.
Oh, wow.
Weird.
Ironic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually not into the dads. I do have daddy issues, but I'm not one of those people that are suddenly, oh my gosh, the dad from Twilight. That my
You don't
heart.
love Charlie Swan?
Charlie Swan? No.
You're wrong. Billy Burke is beautiful.
What's the other gentleman who's Edward's father?
Carlisle.
Peter Facinelli.
Do you like him
Carlisle.
as well?
Yeah.
If you had to pick between Carlisle and Charlie.
Charlie Swan.
Really?
All day long.
What can you? I know this is so far away removed from the podcast. What about him do you enjoy so much?
He's a caring father, and he's just a soft kind of guy. He's just a shy guy. I don't know.
Okay.
He just seems like,
He's a gentle father, caring figure.
yeah, but not an overwhelming I'm gonna hover over you and I'm gonna be a helicopter parent. He's just kind of a chill dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't ask, but I'm more into Carlisle.
Okay? Explain your case for Carlisle.
I'm pretty sure he's Catholic. If he's not Catholic, he's highly religious
Okay.
in the books, and that's
And that's appealing to you?
where his trauma comes from, because he's super old, right?
Yeah.
Before he became a vampire, he was super religious and he hated vampires, but he got turned into one. And he has self-hatred for being a vampire.
So it's interesting here because what I'm getting is one of you is their actions while the other one is their backstory.
Also, Charlie is he's too rugged and stereotypical man. He's got a shotgun. He's a sheriff. He's a cop. I'm just not into it.
Yeah.
That's
Carlisle's
fair.
way more
I just forget about
interesting
that
to me.
part.
But to be fair, I probably wouldn't go for any of them.
Yeah, a little too
Besides,
old. The age has
maybe
always pushed me
Alice.
away. Personally.
I mean, I'm also into Tobin Bell, so
Yeah, that's not a factor for you.
no.
Talking about Tobin Bell, his presence is absent from this movie.
Yeah, I did miss him in this one.
He wasn't in it. We see him in a couple of posters.
Yeah, some pictures, some investigative journalism
Yeah.
stuff going on.
But to get everybody up to speed on what we're talking about, here is our recap for Spiral. So, Geraldine, what do you think about the movie poster this time around?
I think it looks pretty simple, pretty cool.
I think it's a very stunning image. I love this photography of Chris Rock, and I also just love the neon spiral behind him.
Yeah, it's very
In
cool.
general, the whole spiral imagery, fantastic.
I like it.
It's been around for a long time throughout the Saw franchise, and it is just, I don't know, it works for Saw.
I don't really understand where I mean, I guess just Jigsaw in general, like, or not Jigsaw, but the Billy the Puppet. That's where it probably came from originally.
The spiral on his cheeks.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things. This movie, I think, kind of tries to give it a definition. I think for the most part, it's just an aesthetic thing that fits alongside, like you said, with the Billy the Puppet. But this movie tries to give it, like at one point, one of the characters said, like, Jigsaw was right. It's all a spiral. If I'm being honest, I don't know what he meant by that. I don't know if anybody knows what he meant by that.
Literally, what does that even mean?
I don't know.
I think we're still like flabbergasted.
But
by
I
it.
don't mind it. It's okay with
I
me.
mean, I'm okay with having more stories like that where we get like some more one-off films that are involved
really
in the
don't
franchise. I don't mind at all.
So here's the thing. We know that Tobin Bell is going to be in the next film
Yes.
in Saw X, and it's being directed by Kevin Goddard. I wouldn't mind if we bounce back and got a Spiral 2 after that. Or we had like a couple of different, like we could potentially have 3 storylines.
We really could.
Whereas we can have the stuff with Tobin, we can have the stuff with Logan maybe returning as one of the characters.
Yes, he's so beautiful.
And then have another series of Spiral and just like swap off which one we get that year.
Yeah, I mean,
wouldn't that be
literally,
fun?
That would literally keep everything like the fans coming.
I would come back every year because I did enjoy this movie, and it kind of leaves off on a note where I'm interested to see what happens next.
Yeah, I mean,
so while this movie doesn't connect to the other ones, I wouldn't mind a Spiral 2.
I wouldn't either. I definitely don't mind it, and especially the only thing I disliked about it, this one was very easy for me to figure out.
You know, I heard somebody's take about this in a very interesting way because a lot of people did. It's not really that complex, if I'm
It's
being honest.
not, but I like a good challenge.
Here's my only opposition to that. We've gotten Saw movies in the past that did pull out like a random, like, oh, nobody ever saw that coming, right? But it's kind of nice when it's solvable during the
Yeah.
movie because then it means it makes sense. Like there's a
Yeah.
line. But when sometimes it's unsolvable, sure. But by the time we get to like the answer, it's like, oh, that there's nothing satisfying. Like for
Well-
example, when we saw Mark Hoffman stand up,
Yeah, that was
it's like what the
confusing.
heck, you know?
But-
So it is a twist that I didn't see coming, but
But like the Amanda twist, I didn't see coming in the second one. I didn't see coming at all, and I was like, oh my god, and so that like threw me off. But
Right.
it was also like rewarding as
Yeah.
well because I didn't see it coming. It did make sense. All of that stuff.
I think you're right. This one was kind of easy to figure out.
So is Scream 5, but I hated Scream 5, but I really enjoyed this one. I don't know.
Yeah. There is also like talking back about them potentially doing continuation of these movies. They all have different names, which works perfect. So like all the Tobin stuff can keep being called Saw.
Yeah.
Jigsaw was a name change.
Yeah.
So it could be Jigsaw 2. This one also different name, Spiral. It could be Spiral 2. So if they do that, I'd be very happy. I don't know if that would happen. Chris Rock went on record saying that he'd be super down to do another one, of course.
Fun.
That's right. And now we're going to get into a little bit of the landscape, Geraldine.
Okay.
This movie came out in 2021. COVID Part 2. What a time it was, right?
Yeah, I believe at this point I was doing telehealth college, and I did graduate college in 2021, so
Nice. Good job for you.
Big brain.
Billionaires Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos go to space. Do you remember that?
no, because I didn't care. I don't care about billionaires.
It was all over the news, Geraldine. But even though you didn't hear about that, I have a feeling you heard about Kim Kardashian and Kanye West getting a divorce.
Because it's pop culture. Absolutely, I heard about it.
The other one is pop culture too.
No, it's not pop culture. That's just news.
Oh my gosh.
It's not newsworthy news. It's just news.
It's also the year Britney Spears' conservatorship battle took place.
I did know this as well because Free Britney. It was a big movement.
Some of the popular films that came out this year were Dune, starring Timothée Chalamet.
Never seen it.
It's a long movie. It's 3 hours long, and it has Timothée Chalamet
And Zendaya.
and I'm going to watch the sequel. Other films that came out this year that were popular are Cruella, the Disney live-action film.
Oh, with Emma Stone. I have not seen that one. I've heard good
Oh,
things.
wow, really? I enjoyed it thoroughly. I'm a big fan of Emma Stone.
Yeah.
I enjoy just looking at her on the TV screen. Big fan. La La Land, love that movie.
Me too. That's my heart and soul. Love it.
Birdman, love that movie.
Love that movie.
Michael Keaton's one of my favorite actors too. So having
So
him
is Edward
and Emma
Norton.
Stone. Yeah, Edward Norton. I heard he's a humongous jackass, but he is great.
Literally seems like he would be his character in The Glass Onion.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Literally.
But damn, I love seeing him in movies.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. A Quiet Place Part 2 came out this
I
year.
did not see that one.
Did you see the original?
I did. I did see the original.
I saw both of them. I enjoyed them.
liked the original. It was so crazy because like you could hear a pin drop in the theater. It was so quiet.
We'll have to go review that eventually for the podcast.
Oh yeah, because I'm pretty sure they're doing a third installment.
Oh really?
I think it's supposed to be like a prequel before it
took place. I'm excited. Yeah, I'll definitely go catch that.
And like I was really shocked that it was a John Krasinski film. Like my man, Jim Halpert.
I've never seen The Office, so I don't know him very well from that.
His character is like an asshole, but he's very like he's like an endearing asshole.
Right. Sounds like your type.
Yeah.
As far as songs, we have Blinding Lights by The Weeknd.
Oh yeah, the one that won an award on Kids Choice Awards.
Oh, did it?
Or something like that, which is weird.
A great fun song. I like the little
No, wait, not
dance.
Blinding Lights. That was I Can't Feel My Face. That was the one about the drugs.
Okay.
Blinding Lights is different. I do like this song.
Yeah, Blinding Lights, great song. Weird Face. We have Deja Vu by Olivia Rodrigo.
Man, that's
I love Olivia Rodrigo. Her new record just came out.
I don't know. I think it's overwhelming when things are super highly notable, highly popular. Sometimes it just makes not in a way that like I don't know how to explain it.
Blinding Lights and The Weeknd, that album was huge. Was probably the biggest album of the year.
Yeah. I don't know. Like it's kind of like Taylor Swift. I'm not a big fan of Taylor Swift. I don't really care. I think she's great as a person and I love what she does for like all these different communities and like also like promoting like mental health and like promoting like going to vote, like all of these things that she does for like the younger people. Love what she does. It's great. Olivia Rodrigo, I also just am like her music's good. I don't go out of my way to listen to it.
Fair enough. The record I loved when it came out. It was just like this, it's a pop record with so many punk influences, and punk is like one of my favorite genres. So having her and that being reintroduced into like radio, and to me it sounded different than everything else that was on the radio. So I think that was a breath of fresh air for me.
Very good music.
This song, especially Deja Vu, I love. Like it reminded me of like a past relationship, and I relate to it so much. So I'm glad it's one of the most popular songs on here, as well as Montero, Call Me By Your Name by Lil Nas X.
This song caused so much controversy, and I was so happy because he was like dancing. Yeah, this was the one where he was dancing on the devil, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of people were like, he's demonic. And I'm like,
there's a lot of that.
Oh, satanic panic, baby.
There's a lot of that going around right now.
It's so
about these popular musicians getting
so stupid.
Like Lil Uzi Vert, he has a lot of, he has tattoos, he has that gem on his face, and people don't like what he does. Same thing with Doja Cat recently.
Oh yes, I love her music, and she's got like demons and stuff.
And people are upset because, like you said, it's satanic and it's influenced our kids. As far as music is concerned, this movie, Spiral, also had a song featured by a very popular artist, one of my favorite rappers, 21 Savage.
Is that the one that was British? Or is that a different guy?
No, that's, it'd be a lot of memes about like Sir 21st the Savage.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. No, he's not really British, but he was born over there.
Oh,
and
okay.
so there was a whole visa mix-up thing, yeah.
Okay, that's funny, because I really didn't know, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the guy that like, didn't they give him like a pardon or something like that?
Yes, so I think what you might know him most for is he features on a Post Malone song, and he's like 21, why you got 16 cars?
No, I actually know him most from, what is it? There's a song with this guy named Bazzi, like Bazzi, called Focus.
Yeah.
And he's like 21.
I love him. Those ad libs, I love them.
They're just fun.
He is. It's fun.
He's like skirt. Like, it's just fun.
What do you think about Spiral by 21 Savage?
I thought that was really fun. The visual images. Stunning,
yeah. I also like the use of the Saw theme song in the song.
Yeah, very fun.
Yeah, I love it. Two of my, I'm a big fan of Saw, big fan of 21 Savage, so I was super happy to see the collaboration there. This movie was done on a $20 million budget. It was released while COVID things were still happening, so it didn't make the most money, but it did manage to double its budget to a $40 million box office release.
That's really good.
It made good money. I think it would have made a lot more money if it hadn't had those COVID restrictions behind it. Mm-hmm. Some of the other actors that were featured in this film, I don't know if you saw anybody else that was notable to you, but Max Minghella plays Detective William Shank in this movie. He had been in The Social Network,
Yeah.
and in Handmaid's Tale. What did you think about his performance?
I thought he was very good.
I enjoyed him too. I think he had a lot of chemistry with Chris Rock.
I think so too. There's a lot of he's in a lot of other things that I've seen as well, where I've never really had any complaints about his work ever.
Me neither. I think he's a great performer, and I think he has chemistry with what he does with everybody else. I think it's very interesting because I feel like I could have almost watched a whole TV show about like Chris Rock and Max Minghell's characters.
Oh, yeah.
Doing their thing.
1000%.
I felt like they kind of went like a CSI route almost with this movie.
Yeah, it's
kind of
funny
what it felt
because
like.
I feel like every time anybody has a conversation about most of the Saw movies, people end up saying that. Like that, oh man, this one they really went the whole like detective route. But I feel like most of them do.
But this one, I feel like it really, I don't know. It feels more like a CSI TV show to me.
Yeah,
than the
well,
other
that's what
ones
Chris Rock
have.
said, that it had a similarity to like 48 Hours.
Yeah.
And all these other films, like or Seven, and he was trying to make more of that kind of film because he felt that the first Saw film was more in that direction.
Yeah.
Between Detective Tapp and Detective Sing and figuring out this mystery that also had these horror elements added onto it. I kind of feel like part of the reason that the first Seven got burnt out was because they all came out back to back and you're following the same story. And once you got to Hoffman and Strom, people kind of got tired of all of it.
Yeah.
So giving people more of a breather, and we could also have different teams on this too.
Yeah.
So you get a different vibe. I know this is so off topic, but Call of Duty does the same thing, is where there's 3 different studios that make Call of Duty games.
Yeah.
And it gives the other 2 studios extra time because they come out yearly to make their game. And each different studio has like different vibes on the games.
Yeah,
so
I
it's
mean-
nice to like experience a little formatting here and there. Max Minghella plays Detective William Shank in this movie. What did you think about Shank?
I liked him. I thought he kind of seemed like an eager, wanting to do well, wanting to follow the rules kind of person. And I respect that a lot because I am a rule follower. I'm nerdy, so.
Right. What do you think he made a good Jigsaw?
Yeah, I think the backstory and the reasoning for doing it, I really like a good motive that makes sense. You know, we've seen so many motives in previous films that just don't add up.
Don't
We're
add
like,
up.
what?
But this one is so like the twist. You know, we talk about the twist of it being who's Jigsaw. That was notable. But the other twist, I feel like, wasn't the most predictable thing. Like, did you see that coming?
No, I did not.
Not at all.
I didn't.
And it's super interesting. You know, Chris Rock, you're talking about him being a good cop. Shank is. Chris Rock follows that too. And his character, Zeke Banks, he's very honorable. He tries to do the right thing.
And that causes him to be alienated and made fun of at work because he ratted out his partner.
Who was doing awful things, who shot an innocent man.
Yeah.
For no reason. And
no
that's
reason.
what made this the turn so shocking is like Max Minghella's character, William Shank, when it's revealed, oh, hey, I'm Jigsaw, by the way. And Zeke comes into the room and he's like, you traitor. And Shank replies, I've been loyal to you for 12 years. And that reveal of like, the reason he's doing all this is partly because of Banks and because like when he was a kid, the 2 officers that came and one of them, Pete Donlevy? Yeah, Dunleavy.
Yeah.
When Pete Dunleavy is a cop that, you know, came in and shot this innocent man because he was going to stand trial against another dirty cop, you know, a dime a dozen apparently, he shot Shank's father. And Shank saw that. And obviously, since he was a kid, saw how corrupt the police system is, except for Zeke Banks. So that's why he's trying to recruit them into this new, like, the whole Jigsaw scheme. I do really like the mindset of, like, the reason he's doing this in Jigsaw's format is because he believes it works. So in a way, he is like one of the truest, in my opinion, disciples of Jigsaw. Where Amanda and Hoffman, I feel like they kind of twisted John Kramer's philosophy, whereas Shank really does believe in it and how it works and is trying to apply it to a whole system as opposed to just an individual. So I think Shank made a great Jigsaw, and I'd love to see what happens next to like his story.
Yeah, I would be interested in it. The traps were really gnarly too.
Yeah, the traps were gnarly. Who do you think deserved to be in a trap the most?
Oh, well, I didn't know. We didn't get to know the first guy very much, so I didn't really get.
Yeah,
like,
all we got to see the first guy who was in the subway trap. First of all, that subway trap wasn't in a real subway. It was actually a forced perspective shot which is really cool. They didn't have the budget to go like shoot on location, so they used like a miniature kind of shooting situation, which was super cool to see. The whole idea between that trap is, there's a train coming and this guy's tied up with his tongue just squished and chained up to the ceiling, and he has to jump off like, a bench that he's standing on, which would rip his tongue out and allow him to survive from the subway train about to smash into him. And I think this represents a lot of things about this movie. The traps in this movie are poetic, unlike some of the other films where it's just kind of random.
Yeah.
He's in this trap because he was known for lying the most on the stand in court.
Yeah.
So that's why his punishment and then involves his tongue. And we see this throughout more and more of these other things. But yeah, you're right. I don't know how much he deserved it, because he did lie a lot, which is bad. But Zeke also testified to being a close friend of his.
Yeah.
So, and I think Zeke has a good judge of character. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, he even is still associated with his father, but, his father was the chief of the police when all of these terrible things were happening as well.
That's right, yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of not a black and white kind of issue. It's kind of more of a gray area where it's like, what do you do in that situation? Like, he obviously still ratted out his partner, so he did the right thing and got that person off the force as needed. But I think that there are also things like, if you know this person, or maybe he didn't know. Maybe he didn't know that person lied on the stand, but you're still friends with them.
Yeah,
so
it sounds like he was surprised by it, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of just a confusing thing. It sounds like it's a more like a contextual kind of situation, which is weird.
We also have the finger trap.
Oh, that was probably one of my favorites.
You like the finger trap?
It was really gnarly.
We had Finch in that one. He had all his fingers like in a Chinese finger trap situation, except on the other side was a chain attached to a motor that was just slowly pulling the fingers off his hand. And he had to like clamp down on this device to activate it to keep it pulling off his fingers. And there's the poetic thing for that too, is like the reason he's there is because during a traffic stop, he just lost his temper because a kid who was driving, who got pulled over, flipped him off, like insulted him. And so as soon as he flipped him off, he pulls the gun, shoots him dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that happens. Like, cops sometimes have bad tempers. And if you provoke them wrongly, they'll, abuse their power and do things like this.
That's just so scary.
It is scary because they do have a lot of power with like the guns. Like police in Japan, they don't even have guns over there.
Really?
Yeah, they don't. Other countries don't have guns, and other countries also teach you how to use other methods until you get to the gun. Here in the States, depending on where you live, a lot of places are like protect yourselves first at all costs. So the gun will come out first, and so we're not taught to use it as like a extended measure. Like it comes out earlier than compared to like other places.
Like, my thing is, I understand like you don't know what someone's gonna do kind of thing, but like,
And you don't.
But also, like, I think it's really interesting. Like, I just don't think that killing somebody is the option. I think if you want to stun them or like stop them from coming at you with a weapon, I'm not in that job, so I don't know how crazy that would feel.
I think it's a systematic issue, but because
I feel like you would shoot them in the knees or like the feet to stop them.
Well, I think the counter argument to that is like when you're being attacked, you're not really concerned about, being that precise. You just want to stop them. And I think part of the issue is just that these people are under significant amount of stress.
Yeah.
And often, and also like they don't have the proper resources to counteract that. They don't have like mental health people, or not enough at least, to kind of support them through all this. They're kind of left to ran throughout their tempers. And a lot of this movie is about that, and about this thing called Section 8, or that's not called Section 8. What is it called?
Article 8. Article
8, and how that gave them just a lot more authority to basically do whatever they want, to run rampant. And that's a big issue throughout the film. Finch, obviously abused his power too. And that's why his whole thing is a finger trap, because his finger was always on the trigger. He was always ready to shoot somebody. So that's why he had to pull all his fingers off.
I hated his character.
Yeah, he was really annoying.
He was very, very like loyal to bad people.
Yeah, he stole a gun from like just a shop owner randomly. Yeah. He's like, the police department thanks you for your donation.
For your generosity or something?
For your generosity,
I'm like, okay.
That scene was actually a lot more gruesome initially.
Oh, really?
Yes, but they had to take a lot of it out. Like they had like the knuckles busting and separating from his fingers, but they took it out because they were trying to get a rated R rating, and it was too gruesome to come down to a rated R, so they had to take a bunch of that off. Darren Lynn Bousman actually kept those prosthetic fingers, but they were discovered in a bag at the airport, so he had to explain to custom why he had fingers in his bag.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I've never been on an airplane much, so I don't know what's
Well,
the whole TSA
the
thing is
TSA
like.
is a lot more strict because of like situations with like 9/11 and stuff like that. It's crazy. So funny story is when we recently went to Boston and to Salem, Maine, whatever. When we were on our way flying back home, I have this rice bag that I use for my headaches and migraines.
A rice bag. What do you do with the rice bag?
You heat it up in the microwave, and then it will hold that heat for a while, and because it's so full of rice, it's the pressure that is really nice plus the heat.
Okay.
I will lay it on like the problem spots on my head where like the headache really is, or I'll go to sleep with it over my eyes, and it's just the pressure on my head that feels really nice that helps alleviate.
Okay.
So is this like a generic bag of rice, or is
No,
it
literally like cloth, like fabric,
okay?
full of rice.
Was it
Okay,
made
I
for
was
this?
just imagining that you got like a 1 pound bag of rice from
In
like
a
the
plastic
market,
container,
and
yeah.
you just had it in like your little carry-on to
No.
shove onto your face.
But that's why it was suspicious to them. They stopped Patrick. They were like going through his stuff because I put my rice bag in his bag.
Were you guys freaking out?
I was like, oh no. We knew that we didn't have anything that was like wrong. So,
Sometimes I worry about that. Like, what if they catch me with cocaine at the airport
but like,
or with a loaded gun?
why would they?
I don't know. I just think things.
I also think about those things too. I do that too, where I'm like, oh my god, what if I go to jail? But I'm like, why would I? Why would I? I don't have anything. And I don't.
Somebody, you've seen movies. In the movies they
Like-
switch bags, get them mixed up.
That's true, but like I have a leopard, like that bag over there is a leopard with
That's
pink.
the same one I have.
No, it's not.
So ours would get mixed up.
But anyway, so he got stopped, and he was like, I was really hoping that they would throw it away because he hates the rice bag because
Why?
he says it stinks, but it doesn't. It smells like rice.
Can I smell it?
It's upstairs, but
But you wouldn't mind if I smelled it.
I wouldn't mind. But he says that it smells awful. Like he feels like the rice has gone bad. I'm like, I don't know. He's like, well, imagine you've heated it up like over 100 times or something. That thing's probably really old and gross. And I was like, it's just rice, dude. I don't think it has I really don't feel like it.
Well, but
has-
he's experiencing so he smells something if you don't.
I mean, it's not like I can't smell myself or something. You know what I mean? Like I'm very sensitive to smells. It just smells like rice to me. It just smells
Right.
like rice.
But to
Like,
him, it smells bad.
it just smells like rice. It doesn't smell like bad rice. It smells like rice.
Well, maybe he doesn't like the smell of rice.
No, I know he likes the smell of rice because he cooks it at home. But he's anti-rice for this rice bag. I don't know.
Geraldine said, I'm going to gaslight this man.
Yeah.
It doesn't smell bad. It,
doesn't
smells like
smell-
rice.
It's just rice. He says it smells like rice in the worst way. But I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I don't know what that means. But yeah, he got stopped, and he was hoping that they were going to throw it away. And he was like, you and your nasty bag of rice.
They
And
just
I'm
gave it
like,
back to you.
Yeah.
Well, like getting stopped by TSA for cocaine, we also get a drug scene in this movie where Chris Rock kind of pretends to be somebody trying to acquire some product.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, so they had like a little bucket outside. He lived on like the third floor or something, and he'd put a bucket outside of this window, the drug dealer would, and people would put money in it,
Yeah.
bring it up, come back down, some meth.
He's like, I have an iPad.
Yeah, he's got an iPad, and that didn't work. So it puts like a kind of like a ink bomb
Yeah.
in it, and then when he comes back up, the ink bomb explodes in the drug dealer's face, and they rush up there and have this whole ordeal with this gentleman. Some things that are interesting about this scene are that the woman shown next to Zeke Banks in the scene was actually a random woman who was spectating it from her apartment.
What do you mean?
Well, like in Nashville or like any city or whatever, they'll shoot in alleys, right? And there's apartments next to them. So people will look out of their window and there's a film being shot.
Oh,
That happens a lot in Atlanta because Atlanta is like a huge hub for movies. I don't know if you know. I mean, you've seen the Georgia Pish logo at the end of credits a million times. I'm
oh
sure.
yeah. It's a big place anyway because I know that what's his name? Donald Glover. That show Atlanta, I believe it is actually filmed in Atlanta. I'd hope it was.
I'm sure, yeah.
And I know that I just recently saw that in order to make sure Donald Glover was on the same page with the other actors from Community to go do the movie, they were like, we're gonna move the location to Atlanta, so they're gonna shoot in Atlanta
it's a big
instead.
filming hub. Like Atlanta, outside of Hollywood, they shoot more things in Atlanta than they do in New York. Like Atlanta's a huge hub for filming.
Crazy.
And that's what I'm saying. So people will look out their window, you'll just be living and they're shooting a
Maybe
movie.
that's where we should go for film.
And so that's what happened. Like people were just like spectating them shooting the movie. And there was this woman who was there, and then Chris Rock saw her and thought like, oh, you know, it would be great for the scene. Like, and they brung her in, and that's where she came from.
Nice.
Also, the person who was playing the drug dealer was a gentleman named Chris Ramsey.
Fun. He's
actually a magician that had been asked by Darren, the director, to be in the movie. Bousman had been a big fan of Ramsey's TV show and online videos, and then Chris Ramsey was surprised to be asked by the director of Saw to be in this movie. As you know, Darren is a big fan of magic and magic tricks. Here's a clip of him talking about it.
Oh, he loves magic. He's like a huge magic guy. So one night we're shooting like late nights, and he brought in this friend of his, I think his name is John Stessel, to do magic tricks for the cast and the crew. So it's like 3 a.m, and John Stessel's there, and Darren's like watching and like a huge fan, and this guy's doing close-up magic tricks. I think I videoed them all that he did on me, and I posted them on my Instagram. They were phenomenal. He lit a card on fire, and he did this, and he did that, and then Darren's like practicing, and it just, like I said, you would think the most serious and dark and horrific and blood splattery movie, and we're doing magic tricks between takes. It was great.
It's fun.
Yeah, that was Marisol Nichols talking about the director.
That's so fun.
That is fun. It just seems like fun. Like, honestly, I love the team. I love Darren.
Mm-hmm.
He seems like a genuine, fun guy.
Oh, I would love to meet him because not only has he worked on the Saw movies, but again, like I told you, some of my favorite movies in the horror movie industry are Repo, the Genetic Opera, The Devil's Carnival, and Alleluia. I love those movies. They're like horror rock operas. They're awesome. They all have their own thing going on.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't
They're
it?
really fun, and I love theater as well. So, like, not only does he have that background, but like I'm like, I didn't know he was involved in so many projects that I very much love.
He's always been into this stuff. Like ever since from young age, he's been interested in this like horror stuff. So it's cool to see like how he's had all this time to work on things like that. Here's a clip, Darren scaring people throughout his life.
I love that.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I remember one of my earliest memories as a kid was I lived in Kansas, and we had a basement, and there's no basements in California, but in Kansas we had a basement. And I would always make haunted houses through September all the way through November that I would charge the neighborhood kids to come in. And I had I used my dad's power tools, so like things would move around and so yeah, ever since I was a kid. And in the last 5 years, what's been insane is not only can I scare people in the movies, but I also scare people in real life. I've got these kind of immersive haunted house experiences that I do in Los Angeles, the Tension Experience, that are insane, very intense. Like imagine if you could live a Saw movie, and I do that in LA, which is like a dream come true to me. So I get to put scary images on screen and in real life for people.
Let's fucking go.
Isn't that dope?
That is so dope. Darren Lynn Bousman, please, please let us come. Let us come to your immersive haunted house experiences. I swear to you, I would love it so much.
I love him as a director. Like the more I've learned about him, just his love for magic trick, how fun he is, how good he is at his job.
I want to be BFFs with this guy.
He's cool, right?
So cool.
Yeah. So I'm so happy that he got back to do this, like to do another. If he wanted to do another Spiral movie, would be there in a heartbeat.
1000%.
Yeah, that's right. Another one of the traps that we got in this movie is a hot wax trap. Mm-hmm. Little alarming.
That was fun. I liked that one.
Oh my gosh. I know there's a lot of people, subset of people who like hot wax being poured onto them.
Oh, no.
I've never experienced it. Looks very painful. Another poetic thing here, because the whole trap is that the head of the department, Captain Angie Garza, is lying down on a table, and she has like this cloth over her face, and there's like a pipe that is turned on, and that it's like pouring just hot melted wax on her face over
Yeah.
this cover, and she's lying down, and right behind the back of her neck is a blade. And to get out of this trap, she has to sever her spinal cord.
Patrick and I were talking about this, and he was like, "This really feels like it's not a fair one at all." Like this, he was like, "There's
I mean,
really
this
no
is-
winning."
The punishment for this one is one of the most severe in
Yeah.
just Saw history.
Yeah, I was like, "Ouchie!" Either way.
And her whole thing was like covering up for everybody, all the other cops, and doing all the bad things they're doing.
Yeah.
So that's why she had a cover over her face for the hot wax.
It was
Yeah.
wild.
Because it was also like, it was basically getting waterboarded
Yeah,
with
but-
hot wax.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
you imagine?
Awful.
No.
And then when Zeke Banks came in and he removed it, like seeing all the skin peel off with the sheet was just, oh my gosh.
Like
What a visual.
satisfying, but not in a good way. Like I was like, "Oh no."
Have you ever seen those like Snapchat or TikTok videos that are just like perfect, satisfying? or
Yes, I
whatever?
love stuff like that.
You like that? Probably not surprising to you. I like the unsatisfying ones.
No.
The ones that are like almost perfect, but then aren't. Those are the ones I like.
That's very in
course.
character for you.
Yeah, very in character.
Of course, you kind of. I feel like you would like to watch people cringe at like people cutting a pie.
A pie.
Yeah, like asymmetrically,
Oh,
like
yeah.
in an asymmetrical way. I
That brings me joy. Not watching other people experience it, just me experiencing it. I like. I'm
you also probably like watching people like rip like paper towels, like not on the full like dotted line.
That's how I do it.
Ah!
You're
unhinged.
I was talking to Bailey the other day. It's just I am a thing of entropy. You know, I like how things exponentially get more disorganized. I love chaos. It's just it makes me feel safe and comfortable.
Are you like you're a chaotic was it chaotic bad or something like that?
Oh wow,
Chaotic evil? I don't
Yeah.
think so. I think
chaotic
he's,
evil.
I think
I like the sound of it.
No, I think you're like chaotic neutral.
I think I'm chaotic good, but I want to be chaotic evil. I'm working on it.
So that's why I said neutral, dog. That means that you're in the middle.
So I'm making my way there. Downtown.
Making my way. I'm sorry. That was another
Can you
reference to
please
White
finish
Chicks.
it? Go.
Making my way downtown.
Anything
Walking
else?
fast,
There we go.
Faces passing, I'm homebound.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen that scene.
My sister actually cleaned that woman's apartment or house or something, and didn't know who it was. But she was when she finally put the dots together because she had a piano in the middle of her living room. She was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, that's really cool." And I was like, "Da da 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 da." Like that's so
And
fun.
I need you.
Did the piano have wheels?
I don't
And
remember.
could it go down the road?
It was the piano.
It was the piano.
We also get the glass grinder trap in this film.
That was epic.
Looked painful.
It looked so painful.
I don't know if I've ever been cut by glass.
I have.
Besides little tiny bits.
I have because at my old job, we had like these little. You've seen the mats that places would
A
have.
bar.
Yeah, bar mats essentially, like especially if you're putting glassware on
Yeah.
something, just to prevent the things from getting through all the way. Well, people would rarely clean underneath them, which they would get gross. So when I was bored and it was like slow or something, I would clean them out. One of them, because we would frequently break glasses in a restaurant.
Yeah.
It's a restaurant. People were not always coordinated. One of the bottom shelves, I cleaned it out, had like shards of glass, and I was like, okay. So I was, I was using like a towel and like scraping them into another glass. I was gonna just go ahead and throw
Right.
them all in the back. And one of the pieces, I was trying to pick up some of the individual pieces that fell on the ground too. They don't have a great method for us to clean this stuff up, by the way. I will let you guys know that.
That's awful.
Yeah, not my fault. Anyway, picked it up and got me on my fingy, and I started bleeding.
Were you sad?
I was like, oh, ew, ow.
Did it hurt?
It did hurt a little bit because
Did
I
it
had to
bleed a lot?
I had to pull it out. But that's also not the first time that kind of stuff has happened. I was actually telling my boyfriend before the podcast today, because when you guys arrived, I was working on my sewing machine. Pins, those little sewing pins. I have actually stepped on one.
Why, Geraldine? Why would you do that?
Not on purpose. It's not like I wanted to.
Geraldine.
I was in high school and I was living at home with my mom, and I stepped on it and it went halfway into my foot, and I was like,
Geraldine.
and I had to pull it out.
You
And
might as well cut off the foot at that point.
yeah, I know.
Free acupuncture.
It literally hurt like a bee, And I was like, bro,
So
for a while I like didn't put a lot of pressure on that foot because it really hurt.
yeah. Oh my God.
But-
So did you have any shock like when this happened? Like when you saw what happened, how long did it take you to come to terms?
I like,
Or was
I'm
it immediate,
pretty-
like step on, pull out?
no, I tend to have a lot of like shock about things. I like to, if I'm in pain, I don't want anybody talking to me. I don't want anyone looking at me. Don't ask me what I'm, like, if I'm okay. Like, literally stop. Because
Yeah.
then it's going to make me, it physically adds more pain to me. Like, I don't know why. But if you're like,
Yeah, no.
are you okay?
It
I'm
kind
like,
of stresses you out.
yes.
Yeah.
I will literally just like, I'm like a turtle with that kind of stuff. I'm like, I'm just go into my shell. Please
Yeah.
stop. Because it literally just pains me. Like, your words are like daggers to me at that point. And I'm like, and then on top of that, I'm also focusing on getting myself out of pain. I had to pull that thing out. And then my mom was like, my mom also freaks out a lot like I
Yeah.
do. So like, I'm like, like I did it like a gasp.
Yeah.
Like, that's why the other day when you gasped, it freaked me out. I was like, stop. And then like I pulled it out and it started bleeding, and I'm already afraid
no,
of
it's
blood.
bleeding?
It bled, and I'm afraid of blood. So I'm
How-
like, ah.
Can I
Like,
ask
oh my
you
God.
something?
Okay.
Like being in a saw trap, you know, they have to come to terms with doing the dang thing that hurts
Right.
them. How long did it take you to build up that courage to fucking pull it out? And also, when you did pull it out, did you pull it out slowly or did you yank it out?
I really don't remember.
Yeah, it's blocked out of your memory.
Yeah, because I didn't like it.
Oh man, that sounds awful, Geraldine.
Yeah, it was really rough.
Was it in like the heel ball? What part?
Literally the middle of my foot.
Oh, that's so sensitive.
I know, and I have really sensitive feet. Like, I literally wear socks all the time.
Oh no.
I don't
no.
like my feet are very sensitive, and like if my socks get wet, that is a bad day for me.
I feel like the experience I just went through hearing you tell that story, I felt a lot like Adam did when Gordon started sawing off his foot. Like, no, don't do it. Oh, that sounds awful.
It hurt so bad.
Yeah.
And then eventually my mom was like, okay, you're fine to walk on it. And I was like, it hurt me.
What?
It hurt me.
Your mom
It
was just like,
hurt me.
walk it off.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of that generation. Rub some dirt on it kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, who are you? I'm allowed
just
to be
stepped.
in my body and
Yeah.
feeling my feelings.
I'm with you.
A sensitive queen.
Yeah, I'm sensitive too, so I don't blame you. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's
Well,
why
a lot.
that's also another reason why I'm convinced I would immediately die in a saw trap.
Well, I don't know. You persevered, so maybe you can continue.
Maybe my fight or flight. Just kidding. My fight or flight. My responses would probably
Yeah.
kick in, but I really don't know what I would do in those situations because I've never been in that situation where I've had to fight for
We'll
my
have
life.
to put you in one of them and just figure out what you do.
Bro, don't say that.
We'll see what happens.
No.
You wake up
Don't.
tomorrow and your room is just covered in
Oh
those
my
needles.
God.
pointed at-
Oh my God. No,
And you have to like walk out of the room to survive.
bro. Needle pit part 2.
Yeah, there we go. We also, the glass grinder, I think, was also very intense. I don't know what this mechanism was that was like crushing bottles and then just like full on tossing
Ouchie,
them
though.
at this gentleman who was, tied up from
Not
the ceiling.
this gentleman. It was Pete.
It was Pete
Dumb
Dunleavy.
Pete.
Yeah, he's an awful man. Mm-hmm. Just shot somebody dead, cold blood, just because they were going to snitch on somebody else.
Yeah, he's like snitches get stitches, boo.
But then he faced his consequences.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He died.
We got to see Zeke in one of these little handcuffed to a pipe situation, just like the first
Yeah.
movie. I kind of liked it. I like that they brought that back because it did serve as tension for a minute, even
Yeah.
though nothing really came of it because he ended up finding like a bobby pin to unlock the handcuffs. It was still cool to
Very
call back.
resourceful. This character is.
I love Zeke.
Yeah.
Zeke is a great character. And a lot of people criticize Chris Rock's performance. He's a comedian. He's
Yeah.
not a drama actor.
He's not a drama actor.
And some people say he's not good at it. Some people said he's trying too hard. But I think he did a great job personally.
I think he did a good job.
Yeah, I think obviously it's not like, it's not
like
Samuel
the
L.
best.
Jackson level performance.
It's not the best like serious like acting I've ever seen in my life, but it's way better than like you would get with like low budget films. We've all seen those low budget films. Like they're really bad and they have to pretend like this killer sofa is so scary. So I mean, like how good can it be?
Yeah, I'm with you. I loved the opening scene in this movie
Mm-hmm.
with the whole like conversation. Because at first we don't see him as a cop. We see him as like somebody about to do this heist.
Yes.
And he's talking about Forrest Gump and how,
Oh my God.
that you can't say the R word anymore. And you know, you can't make that movie anymore because Tom Hanks is playing like this disabled person.
Right.
And obviously he himself is like fully capable. And so it's when we look back, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there's a bunch of movies we look back on now and it's like, oof, sheesh, you know.
Yeah.
You watch the beginning of Breakfast at
Yeah.
Tiffany's, you know, you
Audrey
look back at a film
Hepburn.
like that and it's a little difficult to see.
It's Breakfast at Tiffany's with Audrey Hepburn. I forget who did the horribly offensive portrayal of that character that you're talking about, but yeah, that the fact that people thought that was okay.
Yeah. So there's a
ridiculous.
lot of movies now, if we go back to and watch, it's just like, oh, wow. And that's a more modern one. I mean, that was from the 90s, Forrest Gump, and it's a beloved
Yeah.
movie. But, I mean, this thing did happen. You know?
What's Eating Gilbert Grape? Leo DiCaprio's like first star performance, and he was an autistic kid.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's
So
a
there-
lot of them out
So
there.
I do think Chris Rock has a lot of points in this scene. But the way he delivers it is so funny. There's a few scenes like that where he's basically just doing a stand-up bit. When he's walking with Shanks, like to the subway crime scene,
Yeah.
he's talking about like your wife
Yeah.
cheating on you and what they do, and it's so like Pilates. I just found out Pilates isn't a real thing.
Which it is a real thing, but it's funny.
But it's so funny, yeah. So I quite enjoy Chris Rock in the film.
Yeah, I mean, people are always going. That's the thing with like diehard fans, though, is that you're never gonna please everyone. So regardless, make your damn movie, you know.
Yeah, I'm with you. You're right.
But yeah,
The other trap that we got here at the very end was the marionette.
that was dope.
Wasn't it so cool?
Like it's so hard to really like pinpoint a favorite because they were all so good.
They were
the
all
only
good.
one that I think I really wasn't that impressed by was really just the subway one.
Yeah, so I think they were all honestly. You know, you mentioned you really like the finger trap.
That was just really cool to watch, like each finger one by one
Just
just
split
rip
off,
off. I was
yeah.
like, oh.
I remember when we first watched this movie that I really liked the marionette because of just this way that it symbolizes things. And forgive me, I didn't watch it with you the other day, so I don't remember fully, but it was like the whole like he is a black man and there's cops coming in to him and he looks like he's holding a gun and shooting people. And he's also a cop. It's just there were so many layers there,
Yeah.
and
There
that
were
he
a
was
lot
a
of layers.
marionette. He was a puppet. He
Yeah,
couldn't help it.
The whole thing was that, you know, under the whole Article 8 thing,
Yeah.
the cops were allowed to run rampant and that he had a part in that. And so there was a lot of like puppeteering and the whole, they also called back to it because we didn't get a lot of Billy the Puppet in this movie.
didn't.
We got one shot where he's kind of in the background if you see it secretly. And instead, Darren Lynn Bousman still wanted like Billy the Puppet to come back in some way. So instead, he had this idea to have this little marionette pig.
I loved it.
I loved it too. Wasn't it great?
He was cute.
It
I want
was
him.
cute. It was stunning. He actually has a name.
Mr.
His-
Snuggles.
Mr.
is what I
Snuggles.
just read.
Yes.
That's really cute.
Yeah. So I love, you know, I think a lot of people would have a problem with like, oh, where's Billy the Puppet? You know what I mean? Like it's Saw. But I like this little Mr. Snuggles guy.
I literally want one.
Me too. So like, and we see it early on, and even the motion when they show it, they have the puppet kind of like raise their hand, right? And then at the end of the movie, they have Sam Jackson character raise his hand like he's holding a shotgun. I love that imagery.
Really, really fun. It's very, very fun. Again, like a lot of these things, like the traps, I really was like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about it because this doesn't feel like it's exclusively like a Saw film, but it
Yeah.
is. It's just a different part of the universe.
Yeah. Which I
It's just
enjoy.
post Jigsaw.
Because to me, you have these two movies that have come out at this point that are like, we have Jigsaw and we have Spiral, and we have two different takes here. We have one where they try to like basically refresh Saw, so like try to give you the same vibe but updated in Jigsaw, and we have somebody else here with Spiral where they try to do a different take, like make it different from the other movies. And to me, I think this one is more successful at
I think
it
so too.
because I have a lot more problems with Jigsaw, and Jigsaw in general didn't hit me nearly as much, where this movie I did have a lot of engagement, a lot of there. I just felt like it was more complex and spoke, like you said, on multiple levels as far as social issues are concerned.
Yeah. And not to mention, like, again, it literally was like the first 48. If you've ever watched that show at all, like you really want to get to the bottom of it, and you're going along the ride with them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you
it
get to follow them the whole time.
it felt like a good cat and mouse kind of chase.
Yeah.
As
There wasn't
well.
really an A and B plot. It was just the A plot the whole time, which I kind of enjoyed for once, actually.
I did too, and I really think that they also tried to lead you astray and make you believe that SLJ was
Yeah.
going to be the Jigsaw, and I was like, that's too obvious. I would not believe that for a second.
Yeah, they try to make it out to be Marcus Banks, his dad.
And then I was like, could it be? No. But then I did some little mathing in my head. I was like, this math ain't adding up. And then I was like, oh no, it's his partner, because he can't get a hold of his partner. That's
Yeah.
way too obvious.
Yeah, they did not sell me on, like, in towards the middle of the movie, we find out that, like, Shank is one of the victims. He, like, gets skinned alive, and in the package that they receive to, like, they keep receiving packages of all the officers they keep
I
killing
like
off.
that aspect. I don't
Me
know
too.
why.
It's fun. I don't know.
I kind of just wish the boxes were like black and
the
red.
boxes look so silly. They look like presents.
They
or
look
something.
like Tiffany boxes.
Yeah, they do. You're right.
They look like the jewelry store. So I'm like, they
Weird
looked way
design
too-
choice.
Yeah, it is a weird design choice. I wonder what the thought process was behind that. Maybe it was just cheaper boxes. I don't know.
Maybe just whatever they had.
But I mean,
Probably.
I really would have liked to see like some stunning, like, I don't know, kind of like, you know how like small business owners put a lot of their heart and soul into like their packaging. Kind of
Let
like,
me wrap it
like
up in a
that.
ribbon, add some washi tape, some free
Thanks.
stickers.
you wanted an Etsy box.
And
like-
it's like, but fancy, but like black and red, so that
Yeah.
it's Saw.
Yeah, I would have enjoyed that too. They just like these beige boxes with ribbons and stripes.
Yeah, or like
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it had like a light blue hinge to it as well. It was really weird and like almost
Yeah.
like burlap string. It was.
Yeah.
I was like, what are we doing here?
And one of them for Shank,
Like little gift for you.
yeah, one of them for Shank came with like that doll, the Mr. Snuggles,
I love it.
and it had like his tattoo.
Yeah.
Like tattooed onto a skin of like his tummy,
Mm-hmm.
and they go to the shop there, and he has been skinned, and they don't spend any time on it at all. So from then, by that point, I was sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's got to be Shank.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's not in the rest of the movie until he comes back to reveal himself as
I was
Jigsaw.
like, they didn't get me this time.
Yeah.
I got it.
I got it, but I love his appeal. Like he tells Zeke, he's like, hey,
He's like,
I
I don't-
know you're the only loyal one here. And
Yeah.
I've been loyal to you this whole time because you're the only honorable person on this team.
I can't lie. It's convincing.
It's convincing. And he's like you're the only one with honor. Let's work together. Like, you just tell me which ones are the dirty cops, and then I'll take care of them. I'll give them like this experience.
What do you think? Do you
reform.
think Zeke is going to eventually like if we get more Spiral, do you think he's going to eventually like cave?
I don't know, because it's so engaging at the end of this movie, because I think he could, but then he's faced with this dilemma at the end where it's revealed that his father, who, he does have a tumultuous relationship with, but ultimately loves, was a part of those awful things.
Right.
So it's like you can see it on his face too. He's like torn. Like, what do I do here? Like, my honor is pulling me this way, but that's my dad on the other hand.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. And now that his dad is gone, you're right. It's like, what is he gonna do? And we get this awesome imagery of, when Shank was a kid, Chris Rock was the one that came to him and kind of like did a little be quiet for right now, like shush, with finger on the lips kind of thing. And then at the end of the movie, when Shank is like departing on the elevator, he looks at Chris Rock and does the same exact thing.
That was good. That was nice.
It was crazy imagery. I love it. I think it's one of my favorite endings. Like, it's like there was just so much energy. It looked stunning, and just like I said, all the emotions that like Zeke Banks is going through in this moment. I loved it.
It was really good. I really enjoyed it, and to know that Chris Rock is a really big fan as well, that's just so cool.
It's so fun. I
Because
love it.
it makes it, to me, you can tell that there's a lot of passion in it as well.
It is like a passion project. Like, he came out and he had a lot to do. They didn't just find him to star in the movie.
Right.
Like, he had a huge hand in its production and it coming to fruition.
Which is really fun.
Yeah, I love that. Let's go ahead and rank the traps.
Man.
Which one do you want to pick out of this? We got 5 of them here. We have the subway trap, the finger trap, the hot wax trap, the glass grinder, and the marionette.
I'm going to be a basic bitch here.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and vote for the marionette.
I can't help but do the same.
It's so stunning.
It is stunning. It is visually.
Like, literally just Like that is
And
so
the way they made him
cool.
move looked just like a marionette. I don't know what they did, really. Maybe they did actually wire him up and just puppet him for a second. But to see a human person in that environment and to have all like the layers of like the representation that means is amazing. I love it.
You know what I just thought of another gripe that I did have?
Okay.
The voice that they use in the videos.
I like it.
I don't like it. To
It
me, it
has to
sounds
be
like
not Jigsaw. It can't sound like Jigsaw.
Right. But to me, it sounds too much like a TikTok voice effect.
That's so funny.
So I feel like they should do something different, make it sound scarier. I don't know. Just get the Scream guy to come do it.
No, I like it being kind of. I like it too because it could be a man or a woman. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Like the pitch, I enjoy.
For a minute there, kind of the way that the timbre was, I was like, maybe because it's a voice effect like this.
Yeah.
I assumed, and maybe I was like, maybe we'll get a woman.
Yeah, and that'd be fun, wouldn't it?
That would be fun.
We haven't gotten. Well, I mean, I guess actually, yeah,
I mean,
Amanda was.
we
the
have
second
Amanda
one. And Jill.
and Jill,
Yeah.
but that's it.
It's kind of an inclusive franchise.
It is.
All things considered. So, which trap do you want to pick from here? Oh, we already said we're gonna pick
Yeah.
the marionette.
We're picking the marionette. I just don't know the order.
Okay. Our current trap rankings are number 1, the rack. Number 2, the carousel. Number 3, the horsepower trap. Number 4, the needle pit. Number 5, the reverse bear trap. Number 6, the glass coffin. Number 7, the laser collar. And number 8, the bedroom trap.
Definitely, it's definitely not going to be last for me, and it's definitely not
Definitely
going to
not
be.
last.
And it's definitely not first.
It's not first. Okay. Let's have a discussion.
Okay.
Is it top 5 or is it top 3 for you?
I would say top 5.
Top 5? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'll let you work. I'll tell you where I would put it.
Okay.
And I'm okay anywhere 1 through 5. So
Okay.
wherever you want to compromise on that.
Yeah.
I like this one so much that I'm putting it at number 2 personally.
Really.
Yeah, because the carousel was super cool. The shotgun carousel. It was from Saw 6, I believe.
Yeah.
And there was not as much emotional repercussion for that one. And also the marionette, it's like an end movie trap. So it had like Zepp's theme playing to it. So it had, to me, more intensity to it.
You're right. You're right. I'm with you there.
So number 2?
I'll settle for 2. Because you're right. And not only is it like he's choosing, this is such a tight, heavy moral dilemma. The one that I wouldn't want for myself ever. Because I'd be like, you know what's easier? Knocking myself out. Because like if I gotta choose a person that I love and who I'm tied to with blood ties, even though we have like a weird relationship or like go the right way, like just kill me. Kill me instead.
Okay, so let's get to ranking the movie itself. I enjoy this movie a lot. And now after we've discussed this movie, it's even higher for me. Our current rankings are number 1, Saw 3, number 2, Saw 6, number 3, Saw 2, number 4, Saw, number 5, Saw 4, number 6, Saw 3D, then Jigsaw at number 7, and Saw 5, last place at number 8. I quite enjoyed this film. Honestly, like it has a lot going for it. I would like to see sequels. So while it's not, I think, in the like, top tier, upper echelon, I do think it's a cut above most of them.
Yeah, I think so too. I personally would probably, if I had to pick a number, well, I would probably put it right at number 5.
Number 5, I'm agree with you because I'm gonna give this movie an 8.
I would give it about an 8 as well.
Which ties its score for Saw 4 and Saw 3D, but I think this one's better than both of them.
I think it has a lot more heart.
Yeah, it does have some heart, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good description. So I'm with you. It's number 5.
But then again, like you can also just see the difference and feel the difference with Chris Rock in this movie as well, being like that it is a passion project. I don't know. There's something there that I literally couldn't take my eyes off the screen.
Me too. You can feel it. I think personally, I think my biggest complaint about the movie is just the pacing of it. Somewhere towards the middle of it, where like we find out that Shank has been a victim, it just feels like it goes like, okay, let's just get to the end, because then that's when we get the hot wax trap, and so that little section felt a little rushed. But as soon as the movie started, and it was like, oh, this is a whole different vibe. We're doing a heist, and like we have like a 5-minute monologue about Forrest Gump in a Saw movie. And like immediately it's a different tone, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, the dialogue here also, like, there are some complaints that I have with some of the previous Saw films where the dialogue between some of these characters that are just now interacting just doesn't really feel like natural dialogue that would happen. But this feels like natural dialogue. Like,
No, you know what? You're right. Especially between Banks and Shank, I feel like you get a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
And then between the Banks, between Zeke and Marcus, I feel like the father-son dynamic is there.
Yeah. I just really enjoy it. It just feels like natural, like human instinct when you're watching it. So you're like,
So our new rankings are number 1 Saw 3, number 2 Saw 6, number 3 Saw 2, number 4 Saw, number 5 Spiral, number 6 Saw 4, number 7 Saw 3D, number 8 Jigsaw, and still in last place Saw 5.
sorry, Saw 5.
Sorry. This one is another controversial one, but I'm glad that we both liked it.
I have a question.
Yes.
I wanted to know, now that this is the last movie until the newest one, Saw
Yes.
X, what movie do you think that the people in the traps deserved it the most?
In Spiral or in all of these?
In all of the movies, which one do you think
I think
had
we're
the
both
most?
thinking of the same thing, Geraldine.
What, Saw 6?
No.
No, not Saw 6. Saw 7.
4.
Oh, what am I thinking? I don't know. Yeah, Saw 4.
Saw 4,
1000%.
the bedproof trap, which is
Yeah.
number 9 on our list. I think he...
Right, but that's the guy who was the sexual assaulter, right?
Yeah.
I agree. He deserves it. He's one of the ones that deserve it the most. But overall, which movie do you think has the most people who deserve the traps?
Oh, wow. That's going to take some thinking. Okay, so if we're going to answer this, we're going to have to go one by one.
Saw 6.
Okay, actually, you're right. It's Saw 6. It's the insurance company scammers.
Yeah.
Really? Wow. I thought you guys were going to be the most, like, meh about them.
Oh, you
Just
thought we were going
because
to be
they're
like
so-
ACAV here
No.
for Spiral or something?
Kind of. I thought maybe you were going to be like that. And I also thought the insurance scammers are just so business type people.
Yeah, but that movie pushes like the people it affects to
Yeah.
the front. So like you see those people.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's like...
And it's still so prevalent today.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because ironically in like the first 3 or 4 movies, I feel like every single victim is so personal to Jigsaw, even though he says that it's not personal.
He's always
It's
saying
never
that.
personal.
But
It's
so
never personal.
we can't really relate, so it just feels like they don't deserve it really. They're
Yeah.
just kind of in this situation, but the later we go, the more and more it's like
They deserve
generic things that people hate, you know? So
Yeah, you're right. Generic isn't the term I'd use, but like we said earlier in the podcast, between like insurance companies
Yeah.
and now police brutality, it does have a theme.
by generic I just mean a greater theme,
Yeah,
not necessarily
right.
more run of the mill.
Yeah, like initially it was definitely personal. In this movie, we actually got another scene that was just a complete lie where somebody said, I forgot who it was, that, Jigsaw never attacked police officers. And I'm
What?
like,
What?
not
Literally,
true.
like 2 whole movies dedicated to him getting detectives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
just John Kramer, but I mean Hoffman had Strong.
Yeah.
Amanda had Detective Carey.
Yeah.
Like we do have a history of police officers being in traps.
But I mean, I think Detective Eric Matthews did deserve it.
For yelling at his kid?
No, for like wrongfully like framing
Yeah,
people.
he's kind of this movie is kind of like that as a whole movie. Kind
Yeah.
of like instead of just Eric Matthews, taking his authority to like too high of a level, this movie is like a whole team of people doing the same.
Which is, it's just a lot
It is a lot.
to process specifically. But I don't know. And like also it makes it more rewarding when they get the bad cops as well, because they are all targeting Zeke for doing the right thing.
Yeah, he gets shot.
He also gets like dead rats thrown on his desk. Like that's just an okay thing. Like, sorry, what about health code here? Like,
It's
ew.
because they feel like he'd betray them, but he should, honestly.
If you're doing the wrong
If
thing.
you're doing all this stuff, yeah.
That's just called compliance, babe.
Yeah. Before we head out, I have this one last clip, this little bonus clip about
Okay.
the things that scared Darren, the director.
Oh.
It's funny, I had a movie in a film festival called St. Agatha, and I had to be there for the Q&A afterwards. And so I'd seen St. Agatha 100 times, and I didn't want to watch it again. So next door, this guy named Ari Aster was introducing his movie called Hereditary, and I knew nothing about it. So I went in to see Hereditary, nor did I know that I was sitting next to Ari Aster.
That's funny.
So I'm sitting there, and then there's a scene where the girl puts her head out the window, and as a parent, I know it. I was watching it, and I screamed, "Oh!" and then he looks over at me, and I didn't realize that was the director until afterwards. But I was so enamored in that film that I missed the first 5 minutes of my Q&A. And finally, they come running and say, "You're supposed to be on the Q&A." I was like, "I got to see how this ends." But that was one that was just so shocking. And again, I think for me as a parent, horror has changed. Like, you know, it used to be gruesome deaths that screwed me up. No, now it is situational things that screw me up. It is family dynamics that screw me up. And that whole movie is a dysfunctional family.
Yeah.
And so I think that movie really screwed me up.
Wow, that man does not want to watch A Quiet Place. One or two.
Oh no.
That's all situational,
Yeah.
like completely.
All
And also,
family
it
dynamics.
gives you so much anxiety because it's so quiet. And
Yeah.
you're like, I feel like I can't say anything.
Yeah. Which I love though, because you know I feel like mostly when we're younger, but also in general, a lot of us like we think of horror and we do think of like the visual violence, but that tension is also important, and I think that's important to Saw too. It's not like the awful thing happening, but leading up to like in Saw 2 when he has his key behind his eye, just seeing him hold the scalpel by his eye is enough. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Oh my God, yes. And the movie that he's talking about, we'll eventually have to talk about it on the podcast. It's very controversial in
Yeah.
the horror community
It's
as
like
well.
Malignant.
Yeah,
in the
it
controversy.
is very controversial. And here's the thing, it took my breath away. Like with the scene that he's talking about specifically, took my breath away in the theaters. I was like gasped. I audibly gasped. It was terrifying in nature, but there's also like some things that people are like, that is the scariest horror film I've ever seen in my life, and I'm like, bitch, what?
But what is you have seemingly I've now learned this from the rice bag scenario. You have a problem with other people having opinions.
No, if that's their opinion, that's fine. But I just
Yeah.
feel like that is not the scariest thing that I've ever seen, and that's fine.
So thank you everybody for listening. I appreciate you guys. Follow us at Fry Flight Pod. We are so excited to watch Saw X together.
Yes, we will definitely post a picture and maybe even predictions. Do you have any predictions yet? Anything?
No, I'm, you know me, like I am the type to come in completely blind. I haven't seen a single trailer for the movie.
I haven't watched any trailers
Even
either
when I go
on
to
purpose.
the other movies and like they show the trailer, I, cover up my ears, nah, all the whole thing just so I don't see it.
I'm so excited.
And I'm super excited to watch it.
Well, yeah, that's it. And we're excited to watch the movie, and you'll hopefully watch it too, so that you can come and listen to our like full spoiler podcast. And then we'll also have we usually do like a short spoiler
for new
free
movies.
version as well.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
Go watch the movie so they make another one.
Yes,
All right.
please.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Fright or Flight, a Live Oaks Village production. This episode was hosted by Geraldine Johnson and Saul Alberto Arizmendi Ochoa. Editing and music composition by Saul Alberto Arizmendi Ochoa.